I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, with TC. Oh, I'm on a pod with TC, with TC.
All right, welcome. This is Financial Literacy with TC. I'm your boy TC. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me. There's so many podcasts out in the world you guys can choose to tune into, but you always choose to come back to mine, and I'm so appreciative of that. Today, I'm super excited because I got an amazing guest. But before I give his introduction, I want to make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. We want to continue to bring Black representation when we're talking about finances, and what better way to do that by having multiple guests, multiple views. We want to continue to make this thing grow and be bigger and bigger and bigger. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. But let's get to it. As you can see, we have a phenomenal guest today. I'm gonna try to do him justice, so bear with me. I'm gonna start with this. He is a father and a husband. Shout out to him because we need, we gotta make sure our Black men's representing. And he is also the founder and CEO of DealMate, which we'll get into. If you don't know about DealMate, I promise you will after this episode. He is a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania lifer, basically. He's definitely deeply rooted in the community, does a ton of things for the community. He's very philanthropic. Really just always helping out veterans, and so much he's done over his years. He's a mentor. He's done a ton of amazing things. He occupies pretty much everything in the real estate space. So everything from helping people get funding for projects, helping people with construction. He has his own construction company. But what he's most synonymous for is he has successfully managed transactions exceeding 16 million and built a dynamic sales team that drive results. Jordan is passionate about innovation and is recognized in his abilities to solve complex real estate challenges, minimizing transaction friction, and above all else, he's just a straight up good dude. My guest, Jordan Herbert, man.
Thank you, bro.
And honestly, bro, I know that ain't even all, but for me, it's always just trying to give my best to highlight and elevate what someone does. But I always say I can't represent you better than you can represent yourself. So if you can do me the honor, man, taking that 30-second pitch to the next level and just let people know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Thank you.
The first thing, I'm definitely, father first. And that's why my voice is hoarse right now. My daughter had a cheerleading competition.
Right.
And I lost my voice just going bananas the whole weekend.
Bro, but no, that's a great reason. For a lot of different reasons, but just being a great dad is, that takes precedent over everything.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you. And I appreciate you still holding me down.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I wanted to be on here.
Gotcha.
And you've been doing some great things in the community.
Appreciate
great things with entrepreneurs. So I wanted to come in here and make sure that I represent it as well, especially with the real estate sector and everything that's going on there. So, you did a pretty good job. I pretty much encompass everything related to real estate,
right.
From wholesaling all the way up to doing our own fix and flip projects and our own buy and hold projects, right. And everything in between, from helping people with their construction, helping people find funding for their projects.
Right.
So really just got my hands on the entire industry.
Right.
That just came about because I noticed glaring issues, honestly, with all of these different sectors.
Right.
Everything that I'm doing now, I noticed a glaring issue for it. And I felt like who better than me to go out and solve the problem and help people, get to the finish line with their real estate endeavors.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I love is when we talk about entrepreneurship and being a business owner, a lot of times it has to start with what you do has to solve a problem. And if you could just talk up, and it kind of leads to my first question for you, actually. Obviously, you found a problem in a lot of different, in real estate sectors of the industry. Just give a little of your background and how you got into real estate, because I know you kind of have to have, sort of like my background in banking, you kind of have to be in the trenches of what the problem is before you be like, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Let me come up with the solution. So if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's funny, I don't tell this story a lot, but I have a roundabout way of how I even ended up in real estate.
Okay.
So actually, I had a financial services company.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were doing extremely well. We were doing $2 million issue paid production each month.
Wow.
And I wasn't actively writing business, but I had a team that was writing business, and I was just mentoring and coaching.
Right.
So I've been mentoring, teaching the
For a
sales
long
process
time.
for over a decade.
Right.
Well over a decade now. And so some things that happened with the team, my upline manager kind of snaked me out of it, and I ended up losing my team, and so that was my sole source of income. So I went through this period where I was just like in a dark place, bro. Not gonna lie, I was in a dark place,
Right.
and I was just like, didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So my cousin hits me up and he says, hey, if you heard of this guy, Jay Morrison, shout out to my man, Jay Morrison.
Hey, I love shout outs. Shout out to
So
Jay.
he's an activist now, but at the time he was big on, getting into real estate with no money involved, no capital, no credit, that sort of scenario.
Right.
And so I really took a liking to his program. At the time, like I was down bad, bro. Like I couldn't even afford to pay for his program, honestly. But he had a free trial. I took that free trial and I gained as much information as I could from that 30-day free trial.
I love that.
And I just used experience and built from the rest.
Right.
And that's how we end up here today. So, it's been just a lot of trial and error.
Right.
I pioneered wholesaling in the Pittsburgh area, whereas wholesaling is just, finding distressed home buyers, connecting them with investors, and making a commission in the middle without needing a real estate license.
For sure.
So I pioneered that, and it was hard because there was no contracts available.
Yes.
Title companies didn't want to work with wholesalers at the time because they were unfamiliar with the entire process.
Right.
And so I've established relationships with these title companies over the years, help them create protocols to be able to allow other people to do this successfully. And then, I'm a natural salesperson, natural leader. Right. So I've always just been inclined to helping other people, achieve whatever they're looking to achieve.
No, and honestly, I love that because we're actually gonna dive into that a little bit. We got to build some momentum here because I'm sure the viewers is like, well, damn, how you do that? We're going to get into that. But what I love about what you said is, you've pioneered. The word pioneered coming out of a Black man means so much to me as we are just coming off Martin Luther King's birthday. Shout out to Dr. King and everything he stood for. As we approach Black History Month, I thought it would be befitting to have a phenomenal Black man along with myself on the episode. So I appreciate that. How you give that historical perspective, and then also you take it to the next level when we start thinking about, where Black men are looked upon and how we're viewed in society today. I am truly always proud to be like, you know what, this is a Black man doing something very powerful, positive, being a shining example, not only for his family, but for his community. So I'd be remiss if I didn't take the time to say, bro, I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
And for me, I'm always a fan of my peers, and you fall into that category, which leads me to always try to give some backstory on kind of how we've met. I'm not even gonna hold you. We've been in so many rooms together over the past few years. I don't even remember our first real interaction. I don't know if you did.
Shout out to Bernard.
Yeah.
I believe it was Motivational Monday.
It probably was. Yeah.
Shout out to Bernard, man.
Man.
The connection king.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm like, wait, we've been in a lot of rooms together, and I know outside of Motivational Mondays, we go to a ton of networking events in the city, things of that nature. I'm gonna shout out Bridge City Connections right now, up and coming. So shout out to them. And then it was really just our networking that really brought us together. And then I'm like, hey, what's up, Jordan? Then I start learning more about you, and then I'm like, oh, he killing it. And then when we talk about the tech space, there's not a lot of Black men, at least when I do my research. I don't see a ton of Black men even thinking about getting in the tech space. You always see construction, sports, you name it, rapping, artistry, and all those things are great. But I'm somebody who follows industry trends. What industry is booming and what industry is going to continue to grow? here in the podcast space. But it's like, we need to see more Black representation in this space. Mm-hmm. And we need to see more Black men even trying to get into the tech space, because let's be honest, every industry that starts to boom, if we are the last ones getting in, when we talk about generational wealth gap, that's part of the reason why we're always the last to the forefront, right, to try to, be innovative in that space.
Right.
So I said I have to say, if you could talk about that a little bit, just because I know, that's kind of how we connected, just being, I don't want to say in awe, but having mutual respect for what we do, and then seeing how you've taken that to the next level, and you're basically being innovative, taking, just real estate in general, and then you found a way to, like you said, innovate it.
Yeah, so, and it's funny because, last year I was very intentional about networking.
Yeah.
And I kind of met you during that season,
right,
where I was just being very intentional about the rooms I was being in, the people I was connecting with, and not only just meeting people, but also just fostering connections and taking it a step further. And so, I'm blessed to, call you a friend, call you an acquaintance at this point.
For sure.
Because I see the great things that you're doing.
I appreciate
it. And, just like you wanted to support me, I've always just wanted to find a way to support you and what you're doing.
Likewise.
So it's just a blessing to be here on this podcast today. It's a blessing to pour into the greater community in Pittsburgh and eventually worldwide with this podcast, and other entrepreneurs who are looking for a way to find their footing, essentially. And so, I think that you said a great thing, which is just about networking, because you just can't overstate that enough.
Right.
Networking is paramount when it comes to building any endeavor.
For sure.
I've always just kind of did my own thing.
Right.
Which is why I had to get intentional about networking.
Right.
Because it was like, okay, well, I'm doing my own thing, but now I want people to know what I'm doing.
Right.
I want people to be able to support if they want to, and I want people to be able to just see what's being built brick by brick, as opposed to coming out with a finished product and saying, hey, here's this, everyone support me. So, we took this very intentional approach with networking. And, the part about it is, as much as it's like transactional about being intentional, like, I'm looking to meet this person, or I'm looking to, get these sort of resources, there has to be that foundation of trust and integrity, because you have to be able to grow with these people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
bro, and honestly, I love that you said that, because I kind of think we had that same mindset, 2024, being very intentional. And a lot of times, I think we were in the room at least maybe 7-8 times before we actually got deep in the woods with hey, this is what you're doing, this is what I'm doing.
Yep.
And it was just that familiarity, seeing the same face. Because I know, and I'll probably try to have a master class on this when it comes to networking, because I think it's an artistry.
Yeah.
When you go into a room, I'm always seeking out who I know in the room already, because now that person can be a mouthpiece to let me meet somebody that I don't know that they know.
100%.
And I think we just had that same mindset. And to add on to what you were saying about, being intentional and building, fostering a relationship, the genuine good relationships that can catapult to, a massive deal or that's how those big deals start.
Yep.
I'll give an example. People in the nonprofit sector, they always think they're on the equal footing with an organization that's been in existence for 10, 20, 30 years. When you're a brand new nonprofit, and we just know that's not the case.
No.
A lot of times it's familiarity, and it's that relationship that the existing organization has built over years. So, there's a known commodity. So you can't just think that, oh, I'm better than this organization just because I'm brand new, I'm innovative. No, it's a relationship that'll have to be fostered and nurtured with these corporations or whoever you're trying to get funding from, because a lot of those rooms is where those deals happen.
100%.
And that person now becomes a mouthpiece for you when they go back to their board or their CEO or whoever they talk to. And man, if so many people could learn that that's how this game works.
It's an art form, like you said. It's an art form. Like, I would go out every day, and you're putting on a masterclass every time you go to a networking event. Because you have to meet these people. And not only do you have to meet these people, you have to find common ground.
Right.
you know, and you have
I don't like you. I ain't giving you no money.
Right. You got to find common ground in a way that's, you know, can foster building a relationship outside. Like you and I have a relationship outside of the networking events now.
Absolutely.
And that's how, you know.
Met your wife.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I met your son.
Yep.
So yeah, you met my wife. So likewise, yeah, like you said, it definitely runs deeper. And then it's like, hey, bro, what you need? Hey, bro, what you need? It go from there. So
100%.
Love that. So with that being said, I wanted to move on to, let's get to the big deal, bro. I'm excited because for a lot of different reasons. DealMate. If I haven't expressed my enthusiasm enough already, I want to do so even more so now. So as you guys can see behind us, DealMate, unlocking peer-to-peer real estate transactions. I want to know, and you kind of touched on it earlier when you talked about, you know, how you came up in the industry. But how did it come about? How did the concept, like how did DealMate just come out of the thought process, the brain, into reality? If you could share that.
Yeah, really. So it's just a culmination of continuing to build and continuing to build. So I had this idea years ago.
Right.
But the idea was to have like this app that was gamified and allow people to find real estate in sort of like a Farmville type way.
Okay.
Where it's like cartoonish,
right,
but you're like actually doing real deals.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did a stint in the NFT and crypto industry. I've launched a few protocols, and I've understood that grown adults don't want to play games.
Right.
Especially when it comes to money. They either want to make money or they want to play games.
Right.
They want to play games for leisure.
Right.
They want to make money to make money.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, it was just this thought process of just taking it from that base idea of, you know, how can we get everyone involved in real estate? So really what DealMate accomplishes is it gets everyone involved in real estate. You know, we pay right now some of the highest referral fees in Allegheny County, I think the highest, for people who are referring people to us that are looking to buy and sell real estate.
Wow.
And we're actively paying out these referral fees already, up to $2,000 per property. And so it's like we can take that model and we can just amplify it through the DealMate platform and allow people to basically do all of the things that real estate encompasses. So when we're talking about a real estate transaction, we're talking about everything from collecting escrow, signing documents, you know, doing lien resolution, the whole nine, all the way down to final closing.
Right.
There's a lot of human involvement.
Right.
And what I've learned in my tenure in this space is there's a lot of human error.
There is.
Humans make a lot of mistakes.
For sure.
Whether that's just the title company saying, hey, oh, sorry, our front desk person went on vacation.
Right.
We'll get that over to you in the next few days. Like those few days are critical when we're talking about getting homeowners out of a distressful situation.
Right.
And so that's where DealMate came about, is just, again, noticing that there were these huge gaps in the industry.
Right.
All the way down to, you know, who's collecting the escrow? You know, if something happens with the deal, now the escrow, you've got to go through litigation to get escrow back if you've put earnest money down on a property. You know, so really when we say unlocking peer-to-peer real estate transaction, you know, you can think about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency where it's just peer-to-peer.
Right.
There's no arbitrary middleman involved with us doing this transaction.
Right.
And so that's how we want to make real estate, which will in turn make it more accessible and ultimately more profitable for all parties involved.
I love that. And so you said a lot. So I kind of want to piggyback off of my experience to go along with kind of what you said. So I'm a notary, and part of the real estate process, there's documentation that requires a notary stamp. Like you said about the title company, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of human error, things of that nature. The way this process works for an individual who's never bought a house, never bought a property, like brand new, where would their mindset need to fit in to understand how this can be applicable to them? Hopefully I phrased that in a way that you can understand, but like on the simplest level, because a lot of times people who've buying their first home, they don't know squat about what they're about to go into. which is why I always try to tell people get into as much home buying education as you can.
Yeah.
So kind of that person is who I'm trying to think about right now. What does this look like for that person? Or is this more suitable for people who already kind of have an ideal understanding about how real estate works? Like who's the ideal person that, and I know you preference everybody getting into real estate, but let's say ideal brand new spanking person, I don't know nothing about real estate. What can DealMate do for me?
So in its inception, DealMate is best used to service those distressed homeowners. People who are facing foreclosure, they have back taxes. Maybe someone passed away and they no longer want the property that they were passed along. We service those individuals because we provide a quick solution for those individuals to connect with the capital they need to get out of that situation. So like on the homeowner side, that's there. On the home buyer side, I mean, really it's an open game. So when we talk about, just usability, user experience, user friendliness, this is going to be a platform that is essentially familiar to a lot of people. Because we're in a digital age.
For sure.
If you want food delivered, you go on Grubhub, you order a hamburger, and it's at your door in 30 minutes or less. You want to date someone, you go on Tinder or one of those other apps.
Buying cars.
Yeah, literally. And so we always joke about saying like, this is the Tinder for real estate. This is, when you think about Tinder and the algorithms that it has, well, if I'm interested in a certain ethnicity, a certain body type, a certain personality type, it's going to show me those people that are using the app first. And then it'll show me everything else. Once my ideal type has been, I've swiped through all of my ideal type, it's going to proceed to show me everybody that's using the app, whether it's somebody that I might like or not. And so this is the same sort of premise where buyers can come in and say, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom ranch that doesn't need any repairs, that's located in a good school district, and this is the property I'm looking for. Well, our advanced algorithms are going to highlight those properties and send those properties to those people first, and then eventually once those properties are mitigated, it'll just send them everything that's on the market. So it's a little bit different from the MLS and going through a real estate agent in a sense where a real estate agent, they're just going to kind of send you everything. MLS, you just have this whole pool of properties that are available. Our algorithms are going to send you what you are looking for first and allow you to take action immediately with a few clicks versus having all the intermediary steps involved with purchasing or selling real estate.
No, that's dope because, and I'm glad you explained it the way you did because as I'm in the similar industry, obviously, but I'm more on the education side of trying to teach people about budgeting, credit, finances, how to get themselves in a better position to be able to, take care of whatever goals they have. And a lot of times it's real estate. So now having a better understanding myself and trying to help people who are ready to take the next steps, like, hey, this is a tool you need to look at because, you've done everything you've done, you've built your nest egg. Now you're trying to get more into the fix and flips, or you're trying to just, buy a number of properties for whatever reason. So I love that because the goal is to really just try to give people a clear and concise understanding of the power, like you said, with the technology. I'm like, pretty much everything is getting closer and closer, especially with the growth of AI. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with that, but it's really just about understanding, where we can grow and develop. And I feel like you've created a game changer. So with that being said, can you elaborate on how AI and technology are integrated with DealMate to simplify the transaction process? And to rephrase that question to be a little bit more direct, I would say, when I go, it's an app, correct? So when I go on the app, what is the first thing I need to be looking for, or what level of education do I need to have beyond just clicking? But obviously I know it's as simple as any app is when it comes to that, but is there anything additional a person should know from an education standpoint on what they're about to embark on, or the tutorials? Because I've seen in apps like even if it is as simplistic as just going through and play with it, sometimes people don't, they don't take it that far.
Right.
They need guide, step-by-step hand holding. Is there any, I guess, from a interface standpoint that people can anticipate or need to do some more education on prior to using the DealMate app?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying, DealMate is still a work in progress.
Okay.
We're actively still building out the advanced machine learning and things that are involved. But the whole theory and the whole goal is to establish a marketplace where you don't have to have any experience.
Gotcha.
Grandma could come on here, click a few buttons,
Gotcha.
sell her property. And likewise, from the least experienced to the most savvy investor can come in here and buy properties at will, as many properties as they want.
Right.
So when we talk about AI and we talk about machine learning and all of these different things, so, even we try to hide the wires, so to speak.
Right.
So we have this complex computer and we don't want wires hanging everywhere.
Right.
We try to hide the wires to make it as user-friendly as possible.
Gotcha.
So on the front end, it's as simple as entering in your property address.
Okay.
And from there, our process will do the rest to create the perfect property description based off of, what's actively selling in the market.
Gotcha.
So for example, if we're in the Bloomfield area and you're selling a property in Bloomfield, you can simply type in the address.
Gotcha.
When you type in the address, it's going to go and gather all of the information about that property. Whether the county registers as a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, how many bathrooms. And then it's also going to look at comparable properties that have recently sold and take their bios, mash them up in a way that it's going to create this bio that'll be the perfect bio for this property to sell. So AI is absolutely incorporated, but we try to hide that so that it's literally just a few clicks and you're none the wiser, so to speak.
Gotcha. No, I love that. And again, I want to be very intentional about the questions I'm asking when it comes to this, because a lot of times, I'm dealing with clients who aren't tech savvy. So, and a lot of times, if you pay attention to the metrics of our city, we're still in the age of where the older generation is still majority with the buying power. That number's starting to creep where it's more of a younger generation but a lot of times the people who are ready to sell, they're not really buying, they're looking to downgrade or downsize. This might be for them, but they are scared of, the interface. They're scared of what it looks like. They're scared of, I just don't trust technology.
Yeah.
So how are you guys overcoming that barrier, or have you experienced that?
So, really, it's through education.
Gotcha.
Coming on platforms like this.
Yes,
and,
education.
Literally, and being intentional about, teaching people these different ways. So right now we're in talks with Operation Better Block in Homewood.
Yes.
About just creating some different platforms for home buyers and things like that.
Gotcha.
And so we leverage all of these different relationships that we've built in order to help people better understand how they can leverage technology to accomplish their real estate goals.
For sure.
And so, if you can order a burger on DoorDash, if you can order a ride on Uber, you can use DealMate to sell or buy.
And I love the comparison because let's be honest, I know an old generation, they order it. They're using the grandkids, but once they get it down once, they got it. So I love that. So before we move on, is there anything else from DealMate? And actually, I am going to hold you. I would definitely want to read the mission statement, if that's all right with you.
Sure, yeah.
I'll wrap up with that question. So at DealMate, our mission is to revolutionize the real estate market by empowering homeowners to sell their properties seamlessly and efficiently without the need for a realtor. We strive to provide a user-friendly, automated platform that connects sellers directly with buyers, ensuring quick transactions with zero fees or commissions for sellers. And again, I'm very intentional about reading this mission statement because I want you guys as the viewers and the audience to understand exactly what this platform is and what it does. Because I know we're talking, we're having fun, we're enjoying our conversation, but sometimes I feel like I don't want the main message to get lost in the sauce. So hopefully you guys have a clear understanding. And honestly, just jump on the website. Yeah. If nothing else, everything's going to be in the description under the Sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's going to be under description under the video, so you can type in. You'll learn more about Jordan. You'll be able to get on the platform and check out the website yourself. But I just want to make sure we're clear about that.
Yeah.
So before we move on from DealMate specifically, was there anything that you feel the audience should know, even that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing is that like this is just as much a community project as anything else I've done.
Got you.
To be able to allow people to facilitate real estate transactions seamlessly, but more importantly, like if you see something, say something.
Right.
If you see a distressed property out there that you think that the owner could really benefit from the capital of letting this property go, reach out and put the property here. We love paying referral fees. That's one of the things we love to do because it empowers people.
That's another stream of income right there.
No,
I'm about to be
legit. Like we're looking for that.
Right.
So we have dedicated sales teams right now. Shout out to my man Aiden,
Aiden.
who's our sales leader right now.
Yes.
But aside from that, it's like everybody can benefit from what this is.
Okay.
Imagine if your friend said they were hungry and you were like, I know this banging burger spot.
Right.
You should order from there. And they order from there and you get paid. This is the same. It does not have to be complicated just because it's real estate. Now, real estate is innately complicated, especially in Allegheny County.
For sure.
Where there's like all these nuances.
Yeah.
And so we're looking to completely simplify that and put a platform in place where people can truly benefit from this simplification. So if you see something, say something.
I love that. And honestly, that kind of leads me to where I wanted to go next, which is last year, more so than this year so far, I've seen you and your squad and your team, because I love that when y'all at Network Eviction, y'all roll deep, y'all crewed up. But you guys were at so many bandos, as you call them.
Yeah.
And every other day I'm following Jordan. I'm like, following on social, by the way. You're like, you guys are different neighborhoods. You guys are, in it, like from a great looking property to a terrible looking one. Mm-hmm. And honestly, now that I remember, you actually did my mom's old house.
Yeah.
And I remember, I remember hitting you up. Hey, bro, that house look familiar. I used to live in that crib, and it was heartwarming to because I hadn't been in there in years. But it was also like, he's in an ideal neighborhood where we need something like this because let's just be honest, not to pick on Wilkinsburg, but it has so many abandoned and blighted houses for a lot of different reasons, which leads me to a question as well. Do you guys have relationships with land banks when it comes to, because I know they own a lot of these blighted properties and things of that nature. So sum up my question. Do you have that relationship? And then also, what was the entire purpose behind being in all those abandoned houses that you guys were in? And you guys did a phenomenal job sharing it on social media, letting people see and things of that nature, which probably was, beneficial from a monetary standpoint. So if you could just talk about that in general, if I sum it up.
Yeah, so the land banks are notoriously like kind of not serving the communities right now.
Okay.
I won't really talk too much on that because I'm really not informed in that because I've been in this space and really we are the change that we want to see. So we're out here acquiring these properties, letting people know that they don't have to lose their property to sheriff sale.
Gotcha.
They don't have to lose their property because of back taxes.
Gotcha.
We can actually put money in your pocket versus you losing or walking away from a property with nothing.
I love that.
It doesn't matter what the property looks like. And so that's our main mission, is just that education piece of saying, hey, if you have a property that, it doesn't matter if the roof is falling in,
gotcha.
There's somebody out there that will find value in that. It just has to be priced correctly.
Gotcha.
And so that's what our team really does extremely well.
Okay.
Not only identifying those properties, but also pricing them correctly,
right,
so that, would-be investors find opportunity in those areas.
Gotcha.
Whether it's Wilkinsburg or Mount Lebanon, we've done everything in between.
Okay. And I'm glad I asked that question that way then, because at first I'm like, I don't know if I like that. But now that I've heard your response, because my goal with that question was to be intentional about putting myself in somebody's shoes who may be watching. They may have a property in Wilkinsburg. They don't live in it, but they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
So now understanding what you just said in this platform, that person might be ideal to, let me connect with DealMate. They might be able to help me do something about my blighted property. And because I've met people who live, I mean, hell, in my neighborhood, there's a couple where people, they still own it. They just don't know what to do with it and they don't have any options. So again, that referral system.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, my boy Jordan or get on DealMate. So I kind of wanted to be intentional about just talking about for people who are in different situations. So that turned out to be a better question than I originally thought in my head. So when it comes to, how you've been moving, you've had a number of young gentlemen following you. I don't even want to say following because I don't know the extent of what that relationship was like. You shouted out Aiden. What has that looked like when you talk about building your team? I know you had a bad situation in the past with building a team, but now this is your baby. This is your thing. How have you been moving differently or building your team? Because I'll be honest, it makes me feel good to see a Black successful man bringing other Black successful men. And not to say that that's all you target, white, Black, it doesn't really matter. But when we talk about men in general, having a mentor, having somebody we can follow. I know for me, I got about 10 mentors.
Yeah.
For a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And then I have great peers who I look to for guidance and things of that nature. I have you on that list. Just what does that look like from your standpoint? Because I'll be honest, while I know a little bit about real estate, it's not my bread and butter. Obviously, as I continue to progress in my life and what I'm trying to do, that'll be what I strive for. Mm-hmm. But I feel great when I say I have you, Titus, Malik, Brandon, a ton of other people who are peers, friends that I can, hey, bro, I'm ready to move on and I'm ready to tackle this.
Yep.
Can you give me some advice? Just speaking to the network and the brotherhood and everything you've done from a mentor standpoint, just talking about that a little bit.
I mean, for me, it's just a passion of mine.
Okay.
I just really enjoy pouring into other people. I've just been that way.
Yeah.
I love being a leader. I love showing people a better way. Right. I love having people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking to do this or I'm looking to do that, and finding different ways to help them facilitate their goals and dreams. I mean, that's just what I've been all about. Right. And I wouldn't necessarily call the insurance a bad situation because I learned so much.
Okay.
So much of the things that I still teach everybody on the team are things that I learned from
that was like your foundation.
In the past. I'm a classically trained salesperson. So, I'm training my guys from classic sales training all the way back to Rorick Lexus, which was like my first job. Oh, selling Lexus. Right. I was 18 years old selling Lexus. Right. And I mean, man, you should have seen me when I walked in there, bro. 3X tall team. Sitting in there, standing in there. I'm like, man, dreadlocks still. Right. And so it was just a situation where they helped to refine my sales ability. Right. Not only that, but they helped me to find who I was as a person. So a lot of this is like, I'm not keeping you captive. I want you to do exactly what it is that you want to do. Right. And I think that sales is a vessel to be able to do that. Absolutely. And sales is notably a revolving door. Yes. People are always coming in, always going out in sales. I'm just one of the guys that has the stick-to-itiveness to know, this is what I want to make of my life. And it's opened up some doors with things like DealMate and just seeing the bigger picture. Right. So if I can just touch one person and help them to see the bigger picture, then I'm extremely fulfilled in that. Right. So, and I love that because you started off by saying it's in your nature. Yeah. And for me, I feel the same way because all the relationships I foster and nurture is very intentional. I tell people my 10 closest friends are all doing as well as me, if not better. Right. And honestly, why I was excited to have you on to give people context is I don't necessarily look for guests to come on to, just come on. I am intentional about, man, he has a lot of knowledge and expertise in an area that I feel people need to learn and know about. Mm-hmm. And hell, a lot of times I want guests that can teach me stuff. Right. So I'm learning a lot. So if the questions don't seem fluid or flawless, is because, no, this is coming from authentic
I want to know type of, you know what I mean? This ain't premeditated,
Right,
you know,
right.
because I want genuine, authentic questions because I'm learning. So,
Yeah.
you know, I appreciate you, in a sense, backing up what you're saying by pouring into me. So, love that. When we talk about real estate,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give to someone who, because, and I'll use specifically our people, Black people, there's this notion out there, I won't say they, and I don't want to be general by any means. There's a notion that I can't get into real estate for a number of reasons. When you yourself have said you got into a class that you couldn't even pay for,
Right.
you had to get it free. And I love that example because it's basically like, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. You'll eliminate the excuses and you'll be able to make it happen. And I feel like you gave a great example of that. But what would you, from an advice standpoint, tell people, especially who look like us, about getting into real estate? Because I hear so many excuses. Bro, my credit ain't good. Oh, this, you know, it's a ton of excuses, which is why when I'm doing financial literacy education, I'm trying to really be intentional about, you know what we're talking about here is a level of discipline and it's a level of will that you have to have internally. Doesn't really matter about the factors you're saying that are barriers for you because they can be overcome. But if your mindset ain't right, all the great information that somebody can give you won't mean nothing if you can't, you know, take it and run with it. So I say all that to say, what advice do you have people in our community who allow things to creep in their mind to say that I can't get into real estate?
I mean, so
if anything,
it's a thought process.
Right.
Honestly, like, you know, there's two teachers in life: education and experience.
Right.
So you're either going to glean from somebody else's experience through the form of education.
Right.
Meaning I'm going to read a book. I'm going to go talk to a mentor. Like every single person that you've seen through networking, they've reached out to me and said, hey, I like what you're doing and I want to learn.
Right.
There's an old adage that I live by is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right.
It's never the other way around.
I love that.
It's never when the teacher is ready, the student will appear. It's always when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
For sure.
So if you're truly interested in doing anything, I don't care what industry it is, then you really need to be intentional about seeking out a leader, seeking out a mentor, reading a book, somebody that can help you gain that experience, that education, or you do what I did and you bump your head and get that education.
Trial by fire.
And so the education was a mix of experience of other people and my experience, you know, to say, hey, I know a little bit about sales. You know, I don't know how to do the contracts. Right. You know, I found a lady that she was an old paralegal. She helped me with all my contracts. She helped me learn how to file deeds. She helped me learn how to do all of these things. And so the right people in your camp are going to teach you the right way to do things. For sure. I would say, like, to anybody hesitant to getting started in real estate, I was literally sleeping on my buddy's couch. Like, it don't get no more down bad than that. Right. You know, like, sure. Bro, I'm sleeping on his couch. I vividly remember I'm on his living room floor. All I had was the bread to get a sign, a blank sign from Home Depot, and I took a waterproof pen and I wrote, I buy houses. And I hung those up around Monroeville. And that was you? That was me. That was me. I ended up getting a phone call. It made $4,000 my first deal and never looked back. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it just has to be in you. And that's something we call a burning desire. Right. You know, that burning desire is something where it's like, yo, I believe in this. Right. If nobody else believes, I believe in me. Right. I believe in what I'm setting out to do. And I'm going to accomplish that come hell or high water.
Love that. Yes. Bro.
So that would be my first bit of advice. Yeah. Establish in your mind a burning desire. For sure. To say, this is what I want to do. Right. And then take the steps that will come about. Because when we speak to our subconscious in that way, things will come your way to help you accomplish what you're set out to do.
For sure. For sure. And man, that's a gem. I'm going to leave it there because if you want more, you got to pay for that. But no, man, that is a great advice. So I kind of want to talk about market trends real quick. So I think the mortgage rate, as I checked either this morning or yesterday morning, were creeping up, if not at 7%, if not more. When people are thinking about home buying, like, does DealMate require people to consider any of what's going on? Not necessarily about mortgage rates, but do they have to consider anything about what the housing market is looking like from those metrics and that standpoint? And I only ask that question because a lot of times people allow the lack of education to think that they can't do, or they can't move forward in a certain aspect because they don't know.
Right.
So to sum that question up, is there anything people need to consider about rates, things that they consume from social media? Because we know everything on social media kind of steers people to what they should think and feel and believe.
Yeah.
Because that's all they're exposed to. So
yeah. So I mean, I think the main thing is something that I always say to my team is, what you focus on expands.
Gotcha.
So at DealMate, we're not really focused on the rates. We're not focused on what's going on externally.
Okay.
We created a proprietary pricing model that allows us to price properties at the right point to where the rate won't really matter so much.
Gotcha.
So when you're buying in that method where, it's always a good time to buy real estate if you find a great price.
Right.
And so that's our adage, and that's kind of how we.
And I love that, because that's speak to the mindset piece, like you're talking about. Because I've heard people talk themselves out of buying a house. Oh, rates are real high.
Yeah.
Mind you, you don't gain equity in a house by not owning it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you losing time and all that. So
exactly.
To your point, having that concise model to where, like, if it's a good deal, pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger. Yeah.
You shouldn't be worried about. So, and I love that, again. Sometimes I luck into these questions because it's like, like the right mindset going into this is something that I definitely would want to have, to where it's like, bro, I'm not worried about nothing else that's going in. I don't care who's in the office right now.
Right.
That has nothing to do with, this is a good deal for me. I'm going to pull the trigger. So
yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I mean, people know what they can afford. People know what our mission is to just help people accomplish goals.
Right.
It's that simple, and so, there's always opportunities, and that's why it's not fully automated. Right. That's why we have a sales team, so we can meet people where they are and help them to accomplish their goals, whether that be on the buying or the selling side.
Right.
So the rates it's like, whose line is it anyway? The rates don't matter.
Gotcha. I love that. So I ain't gonna hold you. That's kind of where I had everything going from DealMate. Before we start to wrap things up, kind of want to give a little bit more of the audience a little peek under the hood when it comes to being a father, entrepreneur, business owner, multiple businesses you got, just kind of some personal insight on kind of how you do what you do to be successful, if I may. Yeah. Because for me, it's like what we're talking about here, the success of DealMate, the future success it will have, the success you've had with other businesses you've done, like all that's fine and well, but there's a reason why you work so hard. There's a reason why I work so hard. There's a reason why we have the life that we've tried to cultivate. So I kind of want to speak to that a little bit when we're talking about, how do you juggle being a good husband, being a good father, doing all these things you do with multiple businesses? Because this is a question that I get asked kind of often. How do you make it work? To simplify.
It comes down to one of those things where it's like, man, again, a burning desire.
Gotcha.
So as a man, as a black man, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to be the best husband. Right. I'm looking to be the best father. I'm looking to be the best businessman. Right. I'm looking to be the best friend. And I don't always excel. Right. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't always excel. Right. However, when we have this mindset of it's never a loss, it's always a lesson.
Right.
So you can always go back and look at ways that you might have fallen short. Right. But like one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich. Ooh, and it says, in every failure, every temporary defeat, there's a seed for an equivalent or a greater success. So what that means is that, like, we can have these temporary setbacks as long as we don't allow it to be a permanent setback. It's going to harness in it the ability to be a greater success for us in the future.
I love that.
And so when we talk about like being a husband, like we kept saying this word throughout this pod, which was intentional.
Yes.
When we talk about being a father, intentional. Being a business owner, intentional. Being a friend, intentional. Like we need to be intentional, and we need to have this kind of understanding that like, hey, like I have to try to do better every single day. Am I going to get it right all the time? No, never. Like that's what comes with it,
right?
You know. And so like what I'll leave with is with this. So I tell my kids every day on the way to school, your very best will always be enough. That, I mean, you know, and so like when we talk about being married, having kids, owning businesses, you know, I'm trying my best every single day.
I love that.
And I know that it's going to be enough because I know that I'm not going to give up. You only lose when you give up.
For sure.
When you quit, that's the only time you lose.
For sure.
And so I refuse to quit. Every single day, I'm out trying to do the best I can for my family, for my businesses, for all of our stakeholders, for everybody involved, for my friends. I'm trying to be the best that I can. And that's just how I'm rocking.
Hey, and I love it, bro, because that touched me. Because honestly, like to your point, there's times where I literally have to pour into a men's network group. Shout out to Men's Progress Network group that I'm part of. Or I have to pull out, you know, or I have to open the hood and call, hey, bro, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. And only a black man who looks like me can relate to some of, because there was times in my industry I dealt with imposter syndrome, or I dealt with like, you know, the level of disrespect. And I think there was a viral video with a guy who owned his house in Ohio, and, you know, a white person came up on his house, you know what I mean? And so I love those stories of a black man prevailing, because a lot of what I hear, not that I'm intentionally looking for it, is a negative portrayal of a black man. So I have to be intentional about getting the positives that black men are doing. The positives where a black man demonstrated self-control and didn't feed into the stereotypes that is out there about us. So the message you just gave fuels me, because I need to hear that.
Right.
That's affirmation for me. Obviously, I give myself it too, but to know that I can call you up or hit somebody up and say, bro, this is what I dealt with. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And then you bring me right back, because I'm like, bro, you're right.
Yeah. The circle that you're running is super important.
For sure.
You know, and that's where, you know, I don't really associate with a lot of folks that aren't thinking on this, not to say they're not on the same caliber, because like you meet people in all different phases and seasons of their life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. Some gentlemen need a hand up.
Right.
You know, so sometimes I need a hand up.
Right.
Like, but when you're running them circles, like you said, like it's just a reality that we're gonna get what we need through each other, and be able to ultimately pour back into our families, pour back into our businesses, and pour back into ourselves, which is important.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna get you out on this last one. Looking ahead, it's one of my favorite things to do. And again, there's no timetable. It could be a year from now, 10 years from now, whatever, you know, whatever thought. And I know you're a forward thinking man. Where do you see DealMate, yourself, or anything between in the future? Because I ain't gonna hold you. I'm, you know, off camera. Hey, what it look like? Not only am I interested in doing the referrals, but hey, how soon can I buy some stock in So just, you know, as you start to think about where you're headed and what you guys are doing, you know, what does the future look like?
It's funny, man, because like people think that things should happen a lot faster.
Right.
And I've fallen into that trap myself.
Okay.
To feeling like, man, I should be moving so much faster, not understanding that every step that we take is going to get us where we need to go.
Right.
Especially when you're doing something that's truly game changing like DealMate is.
For sure.
So our main focus with DealMate this year is, you know, what I always tell the sales guys, we're focused on bottom line revenue.
Okay.
You know, we've got some great bottom line revenue. Like we started the year with a bang.
Right.
You know, we got some great deals that have already closed up and already happened.
Right.
And that's going to propel us to be able to do what we need to do to get the rest of the technology in place, because this stuff is expensive.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like this stuff is expensive to be able to,
Yeah.
you know, develop essentially our own large language model, like to think of like a chat GBT.
Right.
You know, so like one of the things that we have that will be implemented by summer is our own real estate concierge, which, you know, you can come to the concierge, you're going to ask it questions about real estate, and it's going to answer those questions and just kind of help people, you know, transition from needing that human involvement to not needing the human involvement, completely automated.
And not to interrupt you, but a lot of the bigger corporations are instilling that on their websites to where Q&A.
Yep.
So yeah, I love that.
Yep. So that's kind of like phase one for us. You know, phase two is going to happen by the end of this year, which is full out automation. You know, so everything from collecting escrow, title resolution services, everything that we would traditionally need a third party for is going to be in-house on DealMate, and that's our goal for this year. Beyond that, you know, I'd be lying if I said like I didn't want to just exit. Honestly, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm a salesperson. So, you know, my goal is to build up a sustainable business, get it completely functional, and get for a good exit. So there's some good comparables for some tech companies that have exited in the real estate space for the 100 million, you know, sell point. So that's kind of what we're identifying right now as our target. So we want to be able to first generate bottom line revenue, secondly, get the underlying tech done, and then thirdly, generate revenue through the underlying tech, and then we'll be ready for a smooth exit.
I love that. Oh, you got me excited. So lastly, before I let you sign off, you know, is there anything that you want the audience to know that we didn't cover? And then just letting people know how to find DealMate, how to find you, any tags or anything that you want to get out.
Okay. Well, appreciate y'all for tuning in. I love just being on this podcast with you, bro.
Appreciate it.
And, you know, hopefully I touch somebody with my message, you know, pretty much coming from nothing and building a brand. So it is possible for you is, I guess, what I want to leave off with. Like, it is truly possible for you to be able to accomplish your dreams and to live the life that you want to live if you truly desire that. You can find me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is @j.herb. Pretty much DealMate is just DealMate.network. All across the board. So if you're looking on Instagram, it's DealMate.network, Facebook, DealMate.network, and then actually we have a unique URL as well. Online, you can find us at www.dealmate.network. So, you know, if you're looking to get involved with the team, we'd love to have more team members. We'd love to have more sales reps. You know, we'd love to get you involved in a referral program to help you make some additional money. You know, and so that's just something that I'm passionate about, is helping people understand that they can do it too. So if that speaks to you, then please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Really appreciate you, bro.
Hey, as always, brother. And honestly, man, all his tags everywhere, how to find him is going to be in the description. So if you ain't write it down, don't worry about it. Just click the description and you'll grab it there. This is Jordan Herbert, CEO, founder of DealMate. I promise you, if you don't know it now, you better get to know it because it ain't going nowhere. So with that being said, it's Financial Literacy with TC. I want to thank my guest, brother. I appreciate you, man. Always love. And this is Financial Literacy with TC. Like always, I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.
Like, subscribe,
and share.
Hey, definitely leave a comment. Let's go.
Let's go. Appreciate you.
I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, with TC. Oh, I'm on a pod with TC, with TC.